What's up, everybody? It's Heard the Stout here, and got another video I wanted to talk about the gearing process right now. As everybody knows, it's actually been a lot slower than it's been the last couple of expansions. There's a couple underlying issues with it right now. I think Blizzard set out with a goal to make gear more meaningful, but I'm worried there's some underlying issues, and I know a lot of other people are talking about this right now. It's really good. The system right now is really good for the haves and well-organized guild groups that are able to push the 15s, the organized Mythic Plus groups, and organized raid groups. Anybody who's not at the lower end is actually having a harder time, and you're starting to feel the pinch now. They have a very hard balance to strike between offering too much gear and not enough gear, and I think they swung the pendulum way back to the other side from what it's been the last couple of expansions, and it's been a huge eye-opener for a lot of people. So there's two ways to look at gear. You can look at gear as the reward itself for downing bosses, doing content. You can also look at it as a tool to improving your character on being able to continue on and do more become progressively more powerful in an RPG, and kill more bosses, get more gear, allow you to become more powerful to do more. So those are the two ways, and they're not necessarily mutually exclusive. You can look at gearing as a reward and as a tool to improve yourself. One of the other issues you have to really try to avoid in setting up a really good system is getting rid of the feel-bad moments. So you can run 10 Mythic Plus dungeons and only get 35 Anima each time you run a dungeon. And you're talking, each dungeon could be 40 minutes to an hour. So 10 hours, you get no pieces of loot and 350 Anima. And that's really the feel-bad moments that you can come up with. A couple possible solutions we can look at. I'll start talking about the least likely, probably the worst, and then move on to the most likely and better solutions. First, obviously, they got rid of it this past expansion, Titan Forging, War Forging. Now, I know it's a hot topic in the community, but some people really love Titan Forging, some people really hate Titan Forging. And I know it leads to the eye level inflation problem. So somebody doing LFR, lower content, has a chance to, for those who don't know, Titan Forging, if you do, gear had a chance to proc at a higher item level. So you could do an LFR, theoretically, and proc a mythic level raid piece of loot. Which some people were upset at, because doing the hardest content should provide you the highest rewards. But on the other hand, too, somebody who's only doing LFR, and I don't know if this ever happened, but always the big worry was the person who is only doing LFR and was walking around in mythic level gear. But the problem is that person who's only capable of doing LFR and walking around in mythic level, even if he existed and had mythic level gear, he's not going to hop into a mythic raid and all of a sudden blow up the meters unless he's actually a good player. And if he's already that good of a player, he's probably already raiding mythic raids and getting mythic level gear. So I always fall into the camp of Titan Forging wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I think it got too... the proc chance was too high. And the other thing is that it does kind of force... If you're really fishing for gear, it forces higher level raiders to do worse content that they should be doing. So, I don't think Blizzard has said that they didn't really like the end result of what had happened with Titan Forging, War Forging, and they ultimately removed it last expansion, so I think they're not looking to bring that one back. One of the other possibilities they could bring back would be the coin system. The coin system was introduced in, I believe, MOP. They instituted it as a option for players to get a lucky roll to kind of give them bad luck protection. So if you down a boss, you don't get the piece, you're really chasing that one slot that you need, you could use a coin to give you an extra chance to roll on an extra piece of loot. That has that I think was really good. They kept it on until this past expansion, and honestly, I don't remember reading the reason why they dislike that. I think if it just fit into their overall philosophy of reducing the chances of loot that they did going into Shadowlands, and kind of forcing people in tiered progression paths. So that's a possibility that you could, to kind of give the reduce the chances of feel bad moments. If and I think that the coin should even be used in Mythic Plus dungeons. So if you complete say a halls, and you only one chest it, you get your piece of loot, and you don't get anything. Everybody else in your party, you can have a chance to roll. So if you say you needed a weapon, or you were looking for the 190 shoulders. The other thing that I think could use a little more tweaks is, and they probably will end up adjusting it throughout Shadowlands, is the Great Vault. The Great Vault had a very good potential to be the place to really change. So to give you that bad luck, because you have 9 options, and it could have given you that bad luck production. So I think there may be some tweaks going on there. But the system that I think will ultimately end up being implemented, and it's probably the best, because there's been a lot of talk about returning from the community, returning to this type of system. It's the badge system. So the badge system existed until... Honestly, I can't remember when they removed the badge system. But for anybody who's played the last couple of expansions and don't know what the badge system was, there was Justice points and Valor points. And then each tier had its own, and then they combined it. Eventually, they combined it into just Justice points and Valor points. So doing dungeons, you got Justice points, I believe, and then doing the current tier, you got Valor points. And so every time you completed a dungeon, you would get this currency reward, and then you could save up so much, and then turn it into a vendor and get a piece of current loot. So you get, and I believe it was set just below the whatever the hero tier raid was. I could be wrong on that, but back in I remember Wrath, it was you could turn it in for raid level gear. I think I'd have to look that up again, but ultimately a badge system, currency reward system, similar to actually what we have right now for PvP. You get honor, you collect honor points, and then you turn it in. I think you can even use those currency to upgrade gear the gear that you purchase, so you can raise the eye level of it. I think ultimately that is what should be done, especially in Mythic Plus, because there's just so many moments of that feel bad because you don't get anything, and then at least giving you the reward, currency reward, would make you feel that you're actually building towards something. And it actually gives an interesting system, especially in Mythic Plus, that can really expand upon. You can create more specific mythic dungeon gear that you could use the badge system for, that's more relevant towards dungeon small group content as opposed to raid content. So there's options there they could do, is making multi-level raid badge system, a mythic dungeon level system. So hopefully that's something they can look into, and we'll see how it plays out throughout the rest of Shadowlands. Because I think ultimately if nothing is done and it's left as the system is, I think there's going to be problems down the road through the gearing process of Shadowlands.